We come to a very close year. Now's the time when you get questioned, you know that, right? And both of you here. So I'm going to, but before I go, maybe I should just ask this one. And I've been talking about language preservation, and maybe pose it to both of you from my side before I open the floor. You see, how can multilingualism initiate support and the preservation of and revitalization of endangered language and promoting in a way of promoting linguistic diversity? How would you go about? We need to use your mic. We need a roving mic. Okay. Oh, press that button. Yeah, it's technology. I forgot. Yeah, I'll phrase it as I put it here. How can multilingualism initiatives support the preservation and revitalization of endangered languages while promoting linguistic diversity? So I'll pose it to both of you because both were in the same context. So maybe Prof can go first. Perhaps you can come in front here. I know this is, and you can be seen by the YouTubers as well out there.
Yeah, so let me try and point some operation with a number of very important. But I think having listened to the prof and looked at the approach by the Stellenbosch University and what the students from those workshops said, something came out for me and was a common thread, and that is respect. So if we first begin from the premise of respecting people's languages, then we actually, the term endangered languages would not exist if we actually start from respecting everyone's language. Now, logically then, when we respect each other's languages, we then move on to the next level of yearning, getting interested into learning each other's language, understanding the intricacies of each other's languages. And once we do that, even more respect begins, to breed. And ultimately, we start to liven up each other's languages. And there will be no such thing as endangered languages. Now, what makes languages endangered and extinct, I think, starts from neglect. And once you neglect something, you definitely started off by disrespecting it. I disrespect it, and therefore I'm not going to pay attention to it. That's typically the definition of neglect. So I think for me, it starts with respecting. And once we respect, we start to yearn to supporting and promoting these languages. And that way we liven them up, and there will be none that is endangered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. It's well answered. We forget our languages as we try to speak, even when we go in context of even all households now. We speak English. I'm not picking on English, bear in mind, but because it's the formidable language of where we developed ourselves up. And then ultimately we then go on and we forget that our mother tongue existed. And then that's it. We don't respect our own language. Respect is very paramount, and that's what was driving towards and trying to get. Maybe perhaps you can reflect on it as well, Dr. Van der Merwe.
Yeah, I think from my side as well. The respect definitely came out as that golden thread in terms of having the capacity to feel that you can speak and that other people will respect you for whatever language you bring in. The one additional aspect that I just wanted to bring in as well is the issue of resources and money, which of course I didn't speak about today. But I think the respect is one thing, which I think is crucial in terms of the mind shift. But then we also need resources and to put money behind our respect. Because I do think without the resources, we will not be able to do what we need to do. And I think that's where the golden thread yesterday, how many times? 27 times collaboration was mentioned yesterday. And I think today, if you're counting, it's probably, mentioned a few more times today. And I think that's where collaboration comes in and taking hands and that's where I think we can make progress.
Thank you very much. I had a question on collaboration, and I won't ask that now because it's been 14 times out there. So let me open to the floor, and please put your mic on when you to talk. Okay, I'll recognize you first. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chair. My name is Tabu Zinde from University of Technology. Perhaps let me start with a lighter note. I take keen interest in what is happening at Northwest University and Stellenbosch because I'm an alumnus. Now, on a more serious note, at TUT, we will be implementing our language policy next year. So we rely on the experience of others who have already done it, like the two universities. Now, I'm interested in, staff, in terms of their buy-in, language policy is as good as its implementation. Moving from a premise that there was some form of resistance from some staff members, how did you navigate that terrain of making sure that everybody, is persuaded that this is the direction that we need to take? And did you have like short, learning programs that you rolled out for staff so that eventually everybody, was on the same page? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. That's a reflection and also maybe a response from Prof.
Thank you, Tabu. Good to see you. There's a very important phrase that I always hear in governance documents: tone from the top. At the Northwest University, the policy to go functional multilingual was a decision that was taken by council after exhaustive consultations. And once we were convinced that all stakeholders were consulted meaningfully, not just touch base, meaningful consultations that really result in very, very testy Q&A sessions. And once that was done, we knew that no one was left behind. And we said, now council can approve. Council approved. Post-approval, we went back to the same people that we consulted to say now, since we have an approved policy, we need to agree on how we're going to implement it. That is now developing plans. And that again went through the structures to ensure that everybody has got skin in the game. And that was also done successfully. Now, next step is implementation itself. Now, there are things that contribute to successful implementation other than just buy-in. There are things that enables it, such as technology, resources. And we had to make sure that that is provided for. And then there's one thing that you cannot buy money with: the hearts and minds. That you have to constantly nudge to get it, to get everybody behind you. Resistance, yes, you still have resistance. In the sense that, again, the principles that were presented here, when you touch, and I like the feedbacks from your workshops, because it's talking to the inner self. When you talk to me in my language, it goes to my heart. That's what our former president said. And it applies to everyone. But the corollary to that, the opposite, is that when I have to talk to you in a language I don't prefer, I can't be very friendly always. Now, that goes for teachers in the classroom. If they have to teach you in English when they prefer to teach you in Afrikaans, they are not happy campers. Therefore, that constant reminder through workshops, through training, short learning programs from our language directorate and School of Languages. I'll tell you, recently, when we workshopped the new Northwest University strategy, one of the things that came out from the students was that, and contrary to what you hear in the streets, that students, they don't want to be taught in Afrikaans. The students said, "Visi, we hear you, you are firm in saying you want to keep the functional multilingualism, and it's not about to change. We support that, but please make it functional." They say, we don't have a problem with you having these simultaneous translations and so on, but make it functional. And I said, what do you mean? They say, no, it's disturbing to go to a classroom and the headphones are not working properly, or even the translator sometimes does not seem to be so clued up on what they're translating. It's discouraging. Now, those small things are part of the entire package to win the hearts and minds. And we took it seriously, and we said, we are going to form a trust team that is going to look into functional multilingualism. And the colleagues at the back there are part of that trust team. That trust team now, just 2 days ago, presented to the UMC, to the University Executive Management, on what they think should be done for us to really, really, really get the functional part of this multilingualism to be top notch. So that's our experience.
Thank you very much.
I'll just briefly add. As the prof has said, we've done everything similarly at Stellenbosch, but I think for us it's still a journey in terms of moving beyond compliance with the language policy to really embedding the mind shift that we want all our students and staff to have. And the reason I'm saying it's a journey is because our language reporting that happens twice a year, we've got a template that all faculties have to complete. And that template then gets sent to all the departments. And we've moved beyond compliance to say, do you follow the stipulations of the language policy, to actually asking them, what are practices and examples of good practice in terms of multilingualism? How do you enhance it? And then sharing that with other faculties. So I think for us, it's been a journey and still is to move just beyond compliance and saying, yes, we're complying, everything's happening, as it should be, to getting that mind shift of really embedding it into our university. And there we have the workshops in the student communities that's been quite widespread, and also now workshops in the academic environments. And Kim has shared with me they've had one in the professional academic support services with our campus health services as well. So we're really looking at how we now have these workshops within the different environments to get a different type of mindset around multilingualism.
Right. Okay, thank you for that. I've got a few hands that's here. I'm going to recognize 1, 2, 3, 4 there, and I think somewhere else 5, right? In that order. You start.
Sino, please don't be angry with us this time. Okay. All right. Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you very much, Prof. And Dr. Antoinette. Prof, like we are so proud of the progress that Northwest has made towards the implementation of the language policy. 2 weeks ago, we were in one of your campuses, which is Poch, and we were well received and treated very well by the language directorate sitting there at the back. So let's give them a big round of applause. They are doing an excellent work, Prof. So in line with everything that you have mentioned. I think a month or 2 months back, we were at Stellenbosch again. They hosted us when we had the multilingualism workshop or colloquium, where the 2 communities of practice, which is mathematics and African languages, came together. So thank you very much for your presentations. My question is with regard to funding. I know in your presentation, you did not touch a lot on it. How are you funding these beautiful initiatives in your universities? Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll go first. Quite a big chunk of funding at Stellenbosch University. I mean, now the reason I know is because we had to send our language implementation plans with our total funding. So our funding is top sliced. So basically, top slice funding goes to language implementation. We fund our interpreting services. We fund the language centers, not fully funded, but partially funded by the institution. We fund translation in faculties, professional academic support services. So it is, and then also parallel medium teaching. So those are the 4 main areas that we're funding. And it is significant in terms of the funding that the university is giving to this initiative. So I must say we are very fortunate that the institution recognizes the importance of multilingualism and is also prepared to fund our language policy.
Well, similarly, for us, funding these initiatives is not like an afterthought. It is the DNA. It lies right into the DNA of a functioning university, because we believe that without multilingualism, we begin to collapse, we begin to fizzle away, we begin to have deep running divisions amongst ourselves. Therefore, it forms part of the DNA that glues us together. So it is not like extra budgetary, it is firmly part of our teaching and learning portfolio. Now, I'll tell you, as part of these roadshows that we had last year on strategy, one of the questions asked by white academics, by the way, I must say this, which surprised me a bit. They said, but VC, when will this stop? I said, what? They said, this multilingualism, when are we going to converge at some point? I said, why? They said, because it's expensive. They said, it's because it is very, very expensive. Can you imagine how much we can save if we were to stop this parallel medium? And I said, hey, you are confusing me now. Because I didn't expect that to come from you. And that's why I said, no, they must go to the task team and air their views there, because we believe that this was well-intentioned. It was not a stopgap measure to get people to get along. But it is enriching to both sides of the aisle. Therefore, at least currently in my tenure and the current council, there are no plans to end it at some point. In fact, we need to invest on it more.
Okay, thank you to both your presentations, and it's quite heartwarming to hear and to see what both universities have been doing, how you have moved the needle in terms of implementation, starting with the VC's point that Afrikaans providing a repository of a model of how you can benefit from multilingual education. And we always say, you know, South Africa is the capital of that. We don't need to look outside of the borders of South Africa to know what needs to be happening, because we are the research, we are the source, and the outside world need to be looking at us because we have done it and we don't need to look any far. So agreed with you absolutely. And it's very encouraging too to see that you're leveraging on the digital affordances, the interactive technology, what we will refer to as e-translanguaging. I thought I loved just that part when you were talking about how the online system can be leveraged if we believe in the project of multilingualism. I have a question for you on attitudinal planning, which is the same question I have for Dr. Antoinette. I can see that Stellenbosch has really advanced in terms of attitudinal, what you call the mindset. And precisely this is sitting at the core of implementation, because without that, it's not going to happen without direct intentionality. Now, yesterday, this is a question to both of you. I said that it is abnormal that you can be in Africa, graduate at an African university without having learned an African language. And this is the abnormality that we have normalized over time. In terms of attitudinal planning, so there are two things. One is the prestige. It's about seeing that the same thing that I don't like, other people like. My own language is being learned by other people. We might call teaching African languages to speakers of other, what we call teaching African languages to speakers of other languages, including the Africans themselves. But on the other hand, you do rehabilitation because you understand that you don't love or like your own language. It's actually a serious, deeper psychological status that had been actioned for so many years. So it's both rehabilitation and prestige. So I think in terms of moving what we call the bull's eye in all of this is precisely that what are you doing to ensure that this very core on prestige or attitudinal planning is happening where African languages can be learned? Because as much as all of this is happening, I know you're running excellent workshops, but at the end of it, the prestige that, you know, you learn an African language at the university, you're being prepared to use it functionally out there. It goes a long way and deeper into the heart, the prestige, and that other people, the same language that I don't think I see you learning my language at the university, that changes and is quite fundamental. So what is your opinion on this?
Well, maybe I can say that, I mean, learning African languages is already part of what is offered at Stellenbosch University, both integrated in some of the curricula, such as in the education faculty, faculty of medicine, health sciences, and in what other faculties? I think, yeah, those are the two main faculties in terms of professional competency, and then also short courses in African languages. I really, when you were speaking yesterday about rehabilitation and prestige, I thought it actually linked on very well with what I was, and I was still going to refer back to that this morning as well. Because, you know, in these language identities and language journeys, you know, people were sitting around a table from very different environments, and they would say, I feel guilty because I speak my language, whether it's Afrikaans or isiXhosa or isiZulu, for different reasons, right? Different political, but the issue of guilt, of not feeling that your language is either valued, or maybe because of the political baggage of your language, you feel guilty, you don't want to speak your language. And that's why I think in terms of rehabilitation and prestige, we've got a long way to go, but I think it starts with that awareness of lack of prestige and that awareness of every individual. within the institution. I think that we can then work with, because interesting, coming out of those workshops, many of the students and staff now have a commitment to learn another language, an indigenous language, whether it be isiXhosa, isiZulu, whatever they feel they should master. But really, it starts with that awareness, I think. And many people are not aware that they feel that way about their language. And I think that is where we're trying to make strides. We're not there yet, but it's about the awareness raising and then having those programs and short courses in place at our institution to say, when people say, wow, I want to do this, is to say, we've got brilliant short courses in place. We're actually going out on edX now with a professional certificate on multilingualism. And so, I mean, we're not just doing it within South Africa and within Stellenbosch University, but actually going worldwide with a professional certificate in multilingualism. So absolutely. So I think it's starting with the awareness, but then also making sure that we have the resources in place to actually enable people to learn.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Prof.
Yeah. I think a lot has been said, and I don't want to repeat that. But I think one of the things that we underestimate, and it is the root of the two issues that you are bringing up, is how deep the effects of colonization are running. And it is so difficult to undo it. And students would toy and say they want a decolonized education tomorrow. And then we leave it at that. There's not much invested towards it. Now, the fact that a person says, I feel guilty because I'm speaking my own language, or the opposite, I feel guilty because, or I feel ashamed because my English is not that good. People make such disclaimers in meetings. That alone is one of the very, very unfortunate effects and aftermaths of colonization. Hence, therefore, the bigger project on decolonizing of our curriculum. And I'm worried it will not happen during my lifetime. It will not. Because it's going to take a lot of effort and resources to do it. We start now, and starting now means making sure, as I said in my presentation, putting more resources to develop our African languages. Now, when a BSc student tells me they want a decolonized education, I say to them, define it. They say to me, no, I want to be taught in a language that I can understand. I want to write an exam, and then I want textbooks that are written in my language. I say, all right. What is a neutron in your language? A neutron, right? A neutron. I said, no. What is a neutron in your language? We don't have that. So it's still a long way for us to develop those small things. And if we are serious about it, Mr. Mabizela, even though you're no longer with DHET, we need to put, more money deliberate, just like DHET is putting money to fund infrastructure in universities. There needs to be deliberate allocation of resources towards, building up these languages and making sure that at some point, maybe when we are all retired, there will be people that can finish their BSc in physics, doing it in isiXhosa at WSU, But for now, I think it's a very elusive goal.
No, it's fine, Prof. We can talk after this, but I meant learning a language, not learning through a language, but we can talk afterwards.
All right, colleagues, I know I've recognized some hands, but you see, time doesn't permit us to go further. Perhaps we can engage during tea, and I will be outside there. They can engage with you. We have, I know, due to the load shedding and ESCOM, Prof, probably part and parcel of it. So, but it could have, it actually delayed us in some processes. So, but we need to stop because we got another session coming up. The wheels have turned. It's already in motion. And that motion has showed us where our problems lies in terms of implementation of these policies, language policies, and also implementing it at the two formidable universities here that set out here. Now we need to reflect on it. Reflection has been done, as Prof indicated. We need now to find avenues of circumventing those problems. And as financial constraints can be a problem in South Africa, especially, we need to find avenues how we can actually fund this initiative to proceed and obviously become, one. We must not forget our language, our mother language, our language that we speak in is very important to us, and we must maintain that heritage. And my word is linguistic preservation. That's it. On that note, thank you very much to this panel and for your engagements. And I'm sure we learned a lot from it. And there's lots more questions will come to you during the tea. But Prof, we need to give you a token of appreciation that you come, you spend the time with us. So I've got Mr. Mabizela to hand over a token of appreciation to you.
Thanks. Just a photo session for me, Prof. The privilege of they requested that we do this.
Oh, okay.
And there's the cameraman. Thank you so much.
We need to see a text to you.
Oh, okay. Smartphones, stretching the photo. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you. Okay, thank you. I think it's time for tea now. I'm not too sure.
Yes.
Yeah, all right. And then we will reconvene in the next session. And this is Professor Kupasamy saying, I sign off.
Yes.
It actually does that quite nicely.
Yes.
You don't know ahead of time.
Thank you very much.
The video is on the internet.
Congrats. I think it's like, You feel it there, otherwise. Like everything. Yeah, we got the
Do you have a USB? Do you have a USB? Uprof akanayo i-USB stick. And then I need to take the presentation yakhe.
morning, yeah. Yeah.
Again.
Yes, for the background dating. No, it's not this one. It's not this one. The other, this one was already presented yesterday.
Do you have a USB, a floating USB?
Yes, yes. So is this one? Let's move it from there to into. Okay. Okay, can we just? Yeah, let's just see. Yes. So at this point, I'll be able to, let's see. Go to the link and just to the internet. Yes. Oof. That's what happened. Okay, let's give some. Still opening the. Okay, so but it's still sharing a slide. So it means what do I need to do to go to the page? Do it twice, but then we will check. Okay, let me see if because we still have to share it on Zoom. Hi, good morning, Prof. How are you? Yeah, same here. Okay. Yeah, lovely. Yeah, well, yeah. Thank you. Because this one has got Zoom and you're sharing your stuff on Zoom. That's sharing? You're sharing your stuff on Zoom, then there's Zoom and this appears. Yeah, so I can borrow you one if you don't have. Yeah, because that would be important to be able to share. No. Easy. I'll give you a USB. Can you give me a minute? I just want to find out how we're gonna switch from representation to the site. Just give me a minute. Okay. Yeah, but you can do that. Let me just start something. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. If I remember that thing, please send me one to
Hey, angiyazi igama yazi.
The next.
Presentation.
It's frozen. Morena. Technology can humble you, ne?
Yeah.
Seagate. Seagate.
Yeah, there.
Are you there? It should be the first one. Where is it? Refresh, Ababa. Okay. Yeah. Don't stress. Just 5 slides. Oh, 11.
When is the next presentation?
Now.
The next.
Yeah. Okay. Can I take? This is my life, Baba.
Morning. Apologies for starting a little late. People didn't want to come back from the tea session. The student who was supposed to be doing a presentation is not here today. So guess we'll use that time to cover up the time that we've lost. So my name is Mantua Mutinyane, and I'm a professor in the linguistics department and the director of the Center for Advanced Studies of African Society at the University of the Western Cape. So the session that we are, that I'm chairing today speaks to much of what we heard of yesterday and even this morning. So the key words are collaboration, breaking down silos, and access to knowledge. So the project directors are sitting here in front. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background about what Bakonde is. As an acronym, it stands for Boosting the Use of African Languages in Education, a qualified, organized, nationwide development strategy for South Africa. But Bakonde is also a Nguni word. Depending on where you put the tone, it can have different meanings. So you can say Bakonde, which is let them understand, or may they understand, or Bakonde, meaning you need to understand them. So it can go in different ways. And it's a term that works for the Nguni languages as well. So it's a collaborative capacity building project which set out to promote the use of indigenous African languages in higher education in South Africa. So one of the key aims was to provide access to the use of African languages, in that way enabling all university students to reach their full potential. This was a 3-year co-financed project that was co-financed by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union. So this Bakonde is a collaboration between 4 South African institutions and 3 institutions based in Europe. So we have University of Salamanca in Spain. We have Trinity College, Dublin. We have University of Groningen, Netherlands. Then we have the province of Northwest University, Potchefstroom. We have Rhodes University. We have University of KwaZulu-Natal, where we are right now. And then the University of the Western Cape, where we come from. So the project leaders that are in Europe will not be doing the presentation. We have with us the South African leaders. I'm not going to read their bios. So they are in the program that has been emailed to you, so you can read about them there. Just by way of introduction, we have Professor Basi Antia from University of the Western Cape. We have Dr. Kiasi Shoka from University of Northwest. And then we have Professor Nobuhle Hlongwa from University of KwaZulu-Natal. And then we have online on Zoom, we have Professor Dion Gomo from Rhodes University. So before I give them the stage, I'm sure you are wondering how a project of this size will be sustained. Just trying to find my notes here. Okay, my notes are not coming, but I can still talk. So somehow we needed a way to ensure that the program is sustainable beyond the 3-year period. So we have what we call the African language development units, which are based in the 4 South African institutions. And part of that, we have an interinstitutional board of ALDUS, which is the African Language Development units. And the board sits once a month, and it coordinates the development of the materials from the 4 institutions, but it also reaches out to other institutions to ask for donations and collaborations. So without wasting too much time, I'm going to call Prof. Antia to tell you a little bit more about the project.
Thank you. Yeah. Good morning, colleagues. Welcome to the session on a very fascinating project, I would say, and a project that represents, in a sense, the sort of things we're trying to do at the national level. There are a number of, maybe I shouldn't use the term best practices. I'd rather say there are a number of exemplary practices we can take from this relatively well-managed project. So, what I'll be doing is basically presenting a snapshot of some of the project's achievements in my capacity as the co-lead with respect to the work package on dissemination. My co-lead is based at the Trinity College in Dublin. So we're giving you some insight into some of the things we've achieved. And then subsequently, I'm sure my colleagues will be telling you how we got to this stage. In other words, what structures did we have to put in place? What training programs did we have to put in place? And so on and so forth. So in a sense, I'm starting from the very end. Okay, just an item of announcement. If you want to find out a lot more about the Back on It project, we'll be having in 2 days' time, a showcase, an international showcase, where you can find out a bit more about the material. So please bring out your phones. The QR code is there for the Zoom link. We'd like to have as many of you as possible. Then a second item of announcement is that we do have schools outreach pack, which would, somebody was talking about yesterday, the seeming disarticulation between basic education and higher education. So Bakonde has addressed that by having initiatives of basic education. We have a basic information pack. So currently they're available in the languages listed there. And if you have schools in mind, teachers or principals who love us to email this to, would gladly do that. Please just drop us an email and we'll forward the information. Okay, so what were some of the deliverables for this project, especially from the standpoint of dissemination? The first was our social media presence. All right, ensuring that word goes out on what this project seeks to achieve, and of course, what the achievements are. So then a number of other awareness-raising actions, organization of dissemination events, and establishing of an ALDU network, which the program chair just talked about a while ago. I'll quickly skim through each of these to give you some sense of what the project has been able to achieve. Who do we see first as our audience? Who are we trying to reach with this project and with the dissemination initiatives? We're trying, of course, to reach our students. We are trying to reach academics. We are trying to reach other stakeholders in the higher education sector, all right? So in designing our projects, our deliverables, we are mindful of our audience. So let's start with the first deliverable, our website and social media penetration. So a few facts and figures. As you know, with EU projects, the set premium on counting everything. Everything counts. So the number of times you brief about the project, you record it. So so just between June and November, we've had this number of unique visits to our website. And there's a part of the website we call the Colloquium, which is the repository where we place materials that have been developed. And we see some of the top countries of our visitors. You may then ask, so just in a couple of months, we've had about close to 2,000 visitors to the site. What exactly are they looking out for when they visit the site? Let's give you some insight into what the website contains. Okay. So this is the homepage. All right, which communicates the key goal of the project. But the major site which people like to visit is the repository of resources that have been created by members of the consortium and their collaborators. So we would really encourage everyone to visit this site. So it has resources for teaching and learning in a variety of areas. And this is how you go about exploring the catalog. We'll share the link. So what you see here are resources developed in a variety of fields. I'll just scroll down for a second. So you can search in terms of fields, but the homepage here, just to give you a sense of the diversity, you have something on medicine in isiZulu, you have something on linguistic in Tsonga, syllable structure, how to decolonize texts. Decolonization was something that came up repeatedly yesterday. Mechanical engineering, linguistics, medicine, sociology, politics and international relations, medicine, internet, physics. I'm trying to see if there's something in chemistry that might appeal to our Vice-Chancellor here. Not yet education sciences. So you have a variety of resources available in African languages that have been created by partners in this project. But it's also possible for you to do a more sort of targeted search. So you might say, I'm interested in, let's say, resources in science, for instance, and all being equal, you should have a hit list. It's not appearing. Talk about trying to demo, to do a live demo. But ideally, something is going wrong here. Something should appear. let me take maybe some other example. Let's say health sciences. All right. So you see the resources that are available in health sciences. Okay. I'd like to go back to thank you. Okay, so just very briefly, in terms of social media penetration, for those of you who do Facebook, please like our page. It helps us with the numbers. So in the 6 months or so reporting period, we've had about close to 9,000 people being exposed to our site, and then almost 2,000 actually engaging. I mean, to be exposed to is one thing, to actually engage is a different matter. And then we have about 307 very loyal followers. And again, everything counts here. So we have to do statistics regarding who is looking at what we're doing and where they are from. Sometimes we drill down to the level of cities, not just countries. Well, social media as well. Sorry, Twitter, now X. We have quite a number of users on that platform. In terms of awareness raising actions, since the project began, we've had about close to 1,000 actions, but in terms of just the reporting period from June to November this year, we've had about 156. And some of these events are international, others are local. And they range from writing a piece in the local newspaper, granting interviews to radio stations, and so on. In terms of events that we have organized, so in trying to foster collaboration between basic education and higher education, we've actually taken quite a number of our initiatives to basic education. So we've had a schools outreach program. So each of the partner universities has translated the pack from English into the respective languages for which they have responsibility, and have taken this out to schools. So there you see a student, a learner demonstrating their pack. It's a language portrait exercise. The student is engaging, trying to color in the language to show just how multilingual they are. Other events, just a quick sample of events across the universities. And of course, it's nice when a member of parliament picks up on the project and talks about it. It makes you feel you're making good progress. So we have a way of finding out what people say, hopefully good things about the project. So whenever we see such things, we pick them up. We crawl the internet looking for all the good things and nice things people have to say about the project. So this is one example where a member of parliament talks about the project in very, very positive terms. Yes, so essentially that's it. I'm sure my colleagues will now give you some insight into the structures and the training programs and the equipment that led us to where we are right now. Thank you very much.
Okay, our next speaker is Professor Hlongwa, who does not need introduction. So welcome, Prof.
Thank you very much, Prof. Motinyane, and thank you so much, Prof. Pasi Antia, for presenting the tail end of the project. We started with the tail, so we're coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, recognizing our Vice-Chancellors, recognizing Prof. Where's my VC? Now I've now lost my VC. I don't see him. Okay, but like recognizing the Vice-Chancellors in the house. Yes, okay. Some are sitting up there. So Professor Crouch and our esteemed Vice-Chancellor from the Northwest University, Professor Bismarck, and also recognizing all of you esteemed colleagues. My one, in terms of the presentation today, the work of Bakonde, as Prof. Motinyane alluded to at the beginning, it's actually involves these universities. So she has mentioned all of them. So those are just logos, so that like you actually see which are those universities which she has actually stated that are part and parcel of the consortium or of the partnership of Bakonde. The presentation that I'm actually doing now is linked to work package 2, which was actually focusing on the development of multilingual teaching skills for lecturers in our different universities. So that's the work package. So I will be reporting on the progress that has been made by all these 7 universities in terms of the development of these skills. And the main aims of this work package was to, for example, I just wanted to make sure, okay, all the universities are there. I've just mentioned all of them. The 3 main objectives of this project, of this work package, was to design training programs by all the different 7 universities, and also, secondly, to organize and deliver the trainer sessions in our different universities, and thirdly, the actual implementation of the short-term mobilities in Europe and also in South Africa. So those are the short mobilities or training programs that we organized. In June last year, we began with Groningen University, and that was followed by Trinity College in August, and followed by the University of Salamanca in Spain. And then we came to South Africa, and then we visited Western Cape, then came down to KZN. And this year, we did the 2 remaining mobilities, which was the Northwest University and Rhodes University. Okay. So I'm not going to go into all the nitty-gritty details in terms of what transpired before all these mobilities and so forth. I'm just going to go straight to the first mobility, which was in Groningen. Colleagues, this was the first mobility, and which was a huge culture shock. Prof, you spoke about the issue of cultures and so forth. So when South Africa visited Netherlands, there was that cultural shock, that lack of understanding of one's cultures, and which actually did cause a lot of unhappiness from our folks when they visited Netherlands. But during the course of the 2 weeks when they were there, everything was actually smooth. But like there was that cultural shock. So that was the first training, and I'm glad some of the colleagues who visited Groningen are actually here, including Prof. Motini, and I saw Dr. Pindi Lamini as well. Who is our director of UKZN Press, who was also part and parcel of that team that visited Groningen. And it was important that like we do have these directors of these entities joining and working on the work of Bakonde, because like they do critical work. The entities that they lead, they also have publications. Dr. Lamini is leading our UKZN Press here in the university, and she is championing the intellectualization of isiZulu through publishing, so which is an important entity. So these were some of the topics that were covered in the Groningen exchange program. I'm not going to mention all of them, and also the people who were responsible for offering the training there. And what happened was that prior to colleagues leaving from South Africa to Netherlands, so there were some groundwork that we had to do in order to prepare the staff members. And one of the other challenge that Groningen had, like they were supposed to expect, like actually they're expecting 12 people to join. But because, remember, we were coming from COVID and there were issues with getting visas and so forth. So out of the 12, they were expecting they end up getting 9 people from South Africa. So those were some of the challenges that we actually had, even prior to living to Netherlands. Just briefly in terms of the experience there in the Netherlands, you know, when you run a program, you normally request that people evaluate and assess and give a say in terms of what was the experience. So not all the parties did the evaluation, but like with those that engage with the evaluation, it wasn't a positive one, and we were positive about stating that like it wasn't a positive experience, as I've alluded to, but like it was the first one, first of the 7. So it wasn't really a good experience, but out of it, we did learn, we did come up with some positives. And I just want to mention that we don't want to put it under the carpet that like everything was smooth. So there were hurdles there and there during the visit that side. And then I'll move to the next visit, which was the exchange program at Trinity College in Dublin. And with this one, we were proud that like even one of our deputy vice-chancellors actually joined us to go to Trinity College in Dublin. And I'm happy that like I saw some of the people who were with me in Trinity College. Anele, where are you, Anele? So, but like some of the colleagues, oh, there he is up there. So when we were in Trinity College, he was really, really sick.